Welcome to another edition of the New York MRA Hot Seat. I'm Paul Kirch, and I'm here joined with Ann Brown of Gazelle Global Research Services. Hi, Ann. How are you today?
Good.
So we're doing a little special episode here, filmed in their office. And so, Ann, I'm going to give you an opportunity to plug your company. Why don't you tell us briefly what you do and what your company is all about?
Well, Gazelle Global is a data collection, management, and data processing company. And we specialize in making our clients' lives easier. So we really are the resource solution for operations for market research companies. Either in total or on an a la carte basis, we provide data collection management, web survey programming and hosting, coding, translations, data processing. We like to say we do the heavy lifting while you do the think work.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things that you guys specialize in is global field management. It's a strong area of expertise. You're known as a global company. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you face in managing a global study.
I think the biggest challenge today is the fact that in some parts of the world where we'll be operating on a face-to-face basis or in a central location or in a street intercept, because a lot of the global U.S. companies are so used to online research today, they forget the trials and tribulations of actually working face-to-face and in person, which is actually what happens when you're in some of the third world countries today. And the fact of the matter is, all of the global companies are interested in doing work in these countries in the third world because therein lies the biggest marketplace. So I think we all have to take a step back and try to think about what it was like to work 10, 15 years ago when we were working face-to-face, and not just assume that if you press a button, someone's going to be able to log on to your online survey and complete an interview. I think that's the biggest challenge.
So you talk about third world countries. I mean, I think that's an interesting dynamic that most of us don't have to face, but what about not just the challenges you face, but the client expectations when you're dealing with these third world countries or even industrialized nations?
Well, I mean, I think that's the issue. I think clients are forgetting because here, really, you can program a survey, load the sample, and by the next day you can have, if you so choose to operate that way without a slow start, hundreds or thousands of responses. So I think that's the difficulty, is the expectation of the immediate turnaround. Press the button, everyone goes online, everybody completes an interview, and you have the results in a few days. Whereas if you're, and of course the cost involved, it's a lot less expensive to operate a survey online, and when you're back in person with an interview who's actually live, it's a person who's actually interviewing someone live, it's a really very different and a more costly project.
Yeah, so when you're dealing with those problems and they occur, clients probably, we all face some unrealistic expectations. But when you have to go back in the field, when you're dealing with an international study like that, what are some of the pitfalls that you face there?
Oh, we forget that interviews have to be copied. Interviews have to be booked to work that night. They have to go out on location. They need to be given money for transportation to wherever the site is. Paper and pencil interviews have to be collected. There are some places in the third world where an interviewer actually goes with a security guard in some places in Africa. There is some startup time involved. So it's not like you launch tonight and tomorrow you have, the first day's work or 100 interviews.
Yeah, plus that time change.
Of course. Of course, that's the other part of it. When you're working in Asia, our morning is their night. So everything is happening while we sleep. And communication, of course, although email is godsend, it's still, the ability to talk to someone means that you're up in the middle of the night.
So you guys have faced, you've been doing this for a long time. The company's been around for many years. And so you have a lot of stories to share, and I know you've shared some with me, but what's one of your favorite stories about a challenge you faced with an international project?
Well, I think one of my favorite ones is we were asked to do, quite a number of years ago, we were asked to do a beverage study in Uzbekistan. And we had a long conversation with the customer. It was about, as I said, a beverage study, and we all sat in a meeting and we said, oh yes, we're going to look into this. We're going to go get a price. And as soon as we got off the phone with the client, we all ran to the map, because exactly where is Uzbekistan, we weren't quite sure. But of course, we were able to do the job in country. The only problem was getting the questionnaires out of the country was going to be a problem. So we had to contact a friend of ours, a partner in a nearby country, actually. It happened to be Russia at the time. And they actually sent a truck into Uzbekistan, and we trucked the interviews out, and then we were able to ship them from Russia.
And that brings up a great point. I know you had shared with me about how the data transmission, a lot of times today people expect things instantaneously, but sometimes you can't even get a reliable internet connection or fax.
That happens. It happens even today if you're working in countries in Africa, Nigeria, or in South Africa. Sometimes it's or even in some places in Asia, in Indonesia. The internet connections are not strong, or they go up and down or whatever. And even if you are trying to do a study online, or you've recruited people to a central location and then they're logging into your online survey, very often the internet connection goes down. So sometimes the telephone lines go down. So the only hope that you might have is to have the cell phone of your partner in that country, and hope that those lines are working.
And you guys have spent many years, almost 18 years, building this network. You've got a global network, very strong. But what advice would you give, or what challenges would you say somebody getting into this today, they're trying to manage a study internationally, what are some of the challenges they might face?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is not having a high confidence level in the ability of a provider to produce the results that you're looking for. I think that that experience in the market and the ability, the confidence that when you're explaining specs to the person, the partner in this country, I think you really need to have the confidence that this partner can actually produce what it is that you're asking them to do. I think that's one of the biggest challenges, because I think that in some parts of the world, yes is the response to every question. Whether or not that means that they can do it is another question.
Yeah, so it's almost like you have to build up that relationship over time. They have to prove
it's a knowledge base too. Yeah. It's not just a relationship built on these are nice guys or whatever. It's a relationship built on an ability to produce.
Yeah, and it's interesting in a day and age when we all rely so heavily on internet research, and we think in terms of quick turnaround, everything's done electronically. Around the world, a lot of this is still being done on paper pencil. It's being done on the telephone.
It's being done in internet cafes. It's being done central location, and then entering into a web program. It's being done in some of the most remote areas, pencil and paper. The way we did it, 10, 15 years ago here.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Well, I really appreciate you taking out time to tell us a little bit about this. I know a lot of our viewers are probably really intrigued and interested in this type of business. So, I want to say thank you. And once again, this has been Ann Brown of Gazelle Global Research, and I'm Paul Kirch. And this has been another edition of the New York MRA Hot Seat.